just in case the Facebook technology gods, it often happens. So we should be all set up. If you're here live, say hi in the comments. We would love to know. But if not, we're just going to have a lovely chat and you can watch the recording later. We are here today to talk about how can you feel more connected in your body. Okay. We're going to talk about mindfulness techniques. Most importantly, and Molly's great at this, we want to talk about practical things that you can do to feel more mindful. But we also want to talk about what mindfulness is. Like, what is it? People talk about mindfulness all the time. So before we get into it, I just want to give a bit of context as to why this topic is important to me. I think a lot of you know that about 10 years ago, I was on the edge of burnout. And if I'm completely honest, I do find myself veering back towards maybe not complete burnout, but tendencies. My personality is such that it can go that way. But 10 years ago, when things were really, really tough, I discovered yoga, a style of yoga that Molly teaches. And I discovered ways to be more in my body. And Molly's going to tell you a bit more about this. She's a bit better at explaining this than me. But I realized that the more I could be in my body, the more I could be present, the calmer I felt, the more I was able to enjoy my life, the more I was just able to slow down and get rid of that feeling of constantly being switched on and get rid of the exhaustion. It was just sheer exhaustion that I was feeling. And I know, a lot of you in this group, you feel that, and it's called Exhausted to Energize. So you feel that. And so I wanted to get Molly in the group today so we could talk about some of the practical things you can do that I did all those years ago and that I come back to continuously when I start to feel myself veering off track, because I find them so bloody helpful. I really, really do. So yeah, here we are. Molly, not everybody knows you. You're new to the group. Lots of people are going to know you because obviously you're running Thrive with me, which is coming up. We'll talk a bit more about that later. But can you just tell us a little bit about what mindfulness is and your experiences? Because obviously you're a yoga teacher, you're a movement practitioner, and you have a different perspective from me.
Yeah, sure. So I think for me, mindfulness is a word that gets kind of thrown around, and it's really good to just have it in a real kind of practical sense. And so one of the things I think about is like when you go out for a nice meal, right, and you sit down and the waiter gives you this menu and it's like nicely printed, and you read all these words about the food and like fancy words, and then you get your food and you have such a lovely time, right? And so when we enter that kind of setup, we tend to be more, let's say, mindful of the experience, right? We're more interested in what our food is going to taste like because it's like some kind of fancy la la la. But if you went to that same restaurant, that same date night, and you had just had a fight with your boss, or you had a toothache, right? You wouldn't have that experience, no. Right? You wouldn't be able to taste the food so much, right? And so the kind of like the fancy restaurant makes you more mindful, but you can do that in your daily life too, right? And you make a dinner, everybody sits down, you hold hands or something, or light candles or whatever you do with your people or even yourself, and then you like eat and you talk and you have like a nice time, right? And then you have another meal where like as soon as you sit down, someone gets up, someone's going to the toilet, you drop the thing, I forgot the water, I need the ketchup,
it's screaming, yeah.
And then like your food's cold and you're shoving it down your thing, like and you go like da, 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 and then you eat and you haven't tasted anything and you're not there, and then you like all of a sudden you're cleaning up this dinner and you're like, what the heck just happened to me, right?
Where did my food go?
Where did my food go?
Did I talk to someone? Did I have a conversation? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, you know, obviously we don't want to, well, I don't know, maybe we do want to go out for a fancy meal every night, but that's not the reality of life, right? So we want to have ways to kind of like keep our own energy. Obviously you can't like take care of everybody's energy, but you know, keep our own energy steady, keep ourselves present, so we're in that state where we taste our food, right? Where we enjoy the play, where we, you know, whatever, enjoy the scenery as we go for a walk, or you know, feel in your body when you're doing some kind of exercise, right? So, you know, what happens in yoga, and this is, you know, this is something that teachers generally have to learn, but people come in like this, right? And you have to kind of take them into their mind, more mindful, more present state. Then they go through the thing, right? La la la. And then you finish the class and you're all like, oh, wow, I can feel my, you know, whatever, it is my heart chakra, whatever it is you want to tune into, right? And then you're in that more mindful state. Now, obviously, you know, the thing that can happen in the next minute is your boss can call, your kid can scream, you can stub your toe on the way out of the door, you can lose your credit card, you know, like
all the stuff.
All the stuff can happen like in the next minute. So, you know, being able to just kind of come back to like, I am in here, right, is really important. And, you know, when we get into the cycle of, you know, what you were calling burnout, what some people might call anxiety or
chronic stress, overwhelm,
chronic stress, yeah, you know, like you're doing your work and all you're thinking about is how, you know, your boss is going to be pissed off at you. You're not the good enough one for this job, la, 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 la. And then that's going to impact your performance. You're not going to be as concentrated on it, right? And it's going to create that cycle of, you know, spinning thoughts, anxiety, stress, etc. And so, you know, being able to go like, okay, like, you know, dial down the and one way
the non-stop,
yes, or like, you know, so people sometimes say being in the now, right? And which is like kind of weird articulation. But you know, but when you're doing that project and you're going like, oh, my boss is going to hate this, you're in the future, right? You're in an imagined future. Or like,
I would say like probably 95% of the women I work with, so quite high numbers, have that feeling of not being present. So, you know, they're in a meeting and they're thinking of something else, they're planning something, they're somewhere else, or they're you know, playing with their kids on the floor, and they are just like, okay, I've got to get this out for dinner, I've got to plan this for tomorrow, we've got to organize it, you know, it's not being here. Someone said to me literally on the phone the other day, it's like, I run my bath, you know, I'm trying to do the stuff, I get in the bath, my body's in the bath, but I'm not in the bath, you know, my brain isn't in the bath, which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, that's it. It's like, that's like maybe the perfect way to say it, right? My body's in the bath and I'm not in the bath, right? Or I'm in the yoga class and like my body's in the yoga class and it's doing the thing and my mind is not with me. Okay. And so, you know, you wanted me to speak a little bit about my story. And so, you know, I started doing some meditation and stuff when I was about 18, 19, like that. And so I had done it for a long time and I was just looking at years. And so it was 10 years ago and I was on a yoga teacher training. So I'd already been, that was my second yoga teacher training. I'd already been teaching yoga for 9 years or something, maybe longer than that. And I was having, like, every time I would sit down to meditate, like the only thing I could feel was like I was being hunted, right? I was like, I felt like my thoughts were like hunting me. And you know, like, oh, you know, just take a deep breath. You're like, yeah, you fucking can't take a deep breath when your thoughts are hunting you, you know?
And you're someone who's, you know, experienced it.
And I need experienced, right? You know? And so, yeah. And so I started like asking people about what I could do. And one of my teachers gave me this meditation, and maybe it would work for somebody, I don't know. He was like, oh, just imagine your thoughts are in your hand and you're blowing the thoughts away like you're blowing a boat. And I was like, are you fucking joking me? Like, these things are like, they've got spears and guns. They're not like gonna blow away in my hand,
Yeah.
And so that was really my turning point. And I wish I could be like, and then I did this and it changed. But I think what happened was, thinking about thinking made it worse. Right? Trying to think my way out of a thinking problem was like, nah.
It takes you in a downward spiral, doesn't it? Yeah.
Exactly. Trying to dig yourself out of a hole, like, no. And so I don't remember exactly how it happened, but I started doing more of this physical embodiment work, which we'll talk a little bit about. And some of that is just like putting your hands on your own body, right? We're putting my hands on my own body and like feeling something, right? Touching something and feeling something and having the experience of like just like a sensation that I could really tune into, rather than just quiet the mind, right? So I thought what we might do today is just a couple of little moments of that.
Lovely.
Yeah. So one of the things that like yoga teachers always say is like, come back to your breath. Right? Come back to your breath. People will say, come back to your breath as like the first instruction of a class. And I was always like, what does that even mean? Right? What does that even mean? First of all, if I'm not there, then how can I come back to it? First of all. And second, right? Like, how can I come back to the bath if I've never been in the bath?
I'm planning Christmas. I can't come back to
I know. I have a shopping list going on, and I have to send an invite to Aunt Susie. Like, like how can I, right? And so what I eventually translated that to is feel yourself breathing. Feel yourself breathing. And what really helped me to do that was like, put your hands on your ribs, touch your body, and then take a breath in and take a breath out. And then, you don't have to keep your hands in one place. You can like move them to another one and just like take a breath in and take a breath out. Now, I always close my eyes. You did too. So that's kind of a natural instinct. Not everybody will want to do that. And you can just like, it doesn't have to be all the way down here. It can be up here. And you just start to notice what you notice. And some of the things you might feel is like your shape changes a little bit. Right? So something might lift up or move out. And you might feel like, oh, my volume is changing a little bit, like I'm taking up a little bit more space. And this one is a little bit more subtle, but maybe you feel like your tone changes. So even if you put your hand on your belly.
I like that one when the tone changes.
Yeah, so like it gets a little firmer or a little stiffer or a little squishier. Okay, and then let's take the hands away and just do one or two more breaths. And can you keep any of that kind of sensation, any of that? Okay, here's my body breathing. And then one more. Okay, so we can open our eyes.
I love it. I just love it.
Yeah, but what's also, again, if you don't, so I like those three, shape, volume, and tone as like three things to look for right, in my body, because and you could do some other things. You could do the speed of your breathing. You could do the, the quietness of it, or like the wave of it. Is it really like, that would be like more like a mountain
short
thing, or
like,
like
long, smooth,
yeah,
or sharp.
like those kind of things. Yeah. But without that, what can happen is somebody says, focus on your breath, and you go, okay, I'm focusing on my breath. Wait, oh, now I'm breathing slower. Am I supposed to breathe slower, or am I supposed to breathe normal? How do I breathe normal when I'm thinking about my breathing? Right. And like, again, you go, like, the mind starts going around, like, how am I supposed to be breathing? And so you go, okay, cool. Let's put, like, don't just focus on something very clear. And then the other piece, if you are getting in that, like, what am I supposed to be doing with my breathing, is just slow it down, right? Just slow it down from your normal breathing. It doesn't have to be the deepest breath. Like, that's actually probably not, you don't want to be going like, okay. Like,
or when, often I find teachers will say, like deep belly, belly breathing, let's do some belly breathing.
Yeah.
And, if there's no clear direction, you often end up into that thinking cycle of, am I doing it right?
Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Yeah. And also, like, belly breathing is a bit curious, because it can make people do like weird, like, I don't know, I can't like weird, like churning things or something like that, where yeah, it feels really awkward. And it, on some level, telling yourself to manipulate your breath in such a way, it might work for some people, but again, when you're sitting, and
I also find that, with I remember when I was like this, and a lot of the women in this group, and a lot of the women that I work with, typically are that they have a lot of crazy, running thoughts right now. They're not crazy, but, running thoughts, non-stop thoughts. You're not crazy, you're normal.
I'm crazy.
So actually, I find that they do typically go into that overthinking phase when they are trying to meditate or slow down their breathing. And one of the things that I really enjoy about your approach is that the touch literally focuses your mind. And I think I have even done some like touch breathing exercises in this group. If you've been in this group for a while, that all came from Molly. I stole it from her. And I've done it with clients as well. When I have my coaching sessions and we need to just slow down and breathe, we do the hands on the ribs and feel between the rib bones, and that's all Molly.
Yeah, that's nice. So I mean, the touch piece for me is huge, because again, I mean, I don't know, I think I'm a very tactile person. I think we all are. I think we have I was listening to this thing it was during one of the lockdowns, and it was a lab at Goldsmiths, I think, and they were doing research on touch, right? And the like guideline for touch in a day, like, especially in lockdown, nobody was getting it. I guess maybe if you had a family, you have some of it, but loads of people were not getting their kind of touch quotient. But, really, most of us don't get that on any day. And then when we get touched, it's like somebody bumping into you on the tube,
or you're paying an extortionate amount of money for someone to touch you.
Yes, exactly.
In a massage,
Exactly. And then you have to, like, and strip down to your knickers and all this kind of thing. And so, and what they were talking about, what this researcher was talking about, was, that actually self-touch makes a huge difference for people. It, like, self-touch can give you your touch quotient of the day. And so, or of the day, whatever, but it can, it does contribute to your touch experience. And so, so it can be, it's free, it's easy, it's there all the time, like, you can do, even when I'm in a space where maybe I don't want to put my hands on my ribs, or I'm on a bus or something, like, this is maybe a little bit more, you can like, you can rub your hands, you can, you can just kind of massage the palms of your hands is another way, just to get some touch into yourself. And nobody would like look twice if you're sitting on the bus, kind of just giving your palms a little, you know, not that you need to care what anybody else thinks, but yeah, exactly. But you know,
or
like
shoulders, you know, for me,
or shoulders.
my shoulders are constantly, you know, you talk a lot about the sponge.
Yes, yes.
Mine often feel like rocks, so I really like that imagery.
So should we do the sponging? Should we do shoulder sponging?
Let's do the sponging, yes.
Yeah, let's do shoulder. I'm going to take my scarf off. So this one, you put your thumb, you just put your, like, slide down your neck until you get to your kind of slope of your shoulder. And you can just hold on to that. And put your other arm, if you can, rest it on your leg so that the weight of the arm is supported. So that means usually like about halfway up the thigh, not on the knee. And then let's just lean a little bit. So I'm touching my left shoulder. So I'm going to lean a little bit to the right and lift up the shoulder.
Okay, so lean the opposite way.
Squeeze it. Yeah. So don't move your neck, just your whole body kind of leans. That's
okay,
it.
yeah.
Yeah. And then when you lean to the left, melt your arm, melt the shoulder, and imagine kind of releasing the sponge. Okay. So it's kind of squeeze and lift, but you're using your body to help lift the shoulder. And then melt, melt, melt. And then squeeze and melt. And so, yeah, so the image is that your muscle is a sponge, and it might have a little bit of stagnant water in it. Oh yeah, quite literally. And so when you squeeze the sponge, you're kind of getting the old stuff out, and then when you melt, the fresh water, clean, nutrient dense water comes in. Let's do one more time. Squeeze.
Headphones falling out.
And release. And, you know, I was breathing in coordination with that. That sometimes happens, but you don't need to like get too focused on it. And then take your hand away. And now here's the other important piece, is just to go like, okay, do I notice anything different? Has something changed, right? What's the shape? Like, is the shape different? So my shape, I feel like, is lower on that side.
Feels about, I mean, and oh my God, I'm looking at myself in the, like.
I know, I do that in the classroom, and I look around the room and everyone looks like this, you know. And also sometimes if you're doing a standing, you take your arms out in front, you clap your hands together, and like one arm is like, you know, 2 inches longer than the other, just from that kind of tension release. Yeah, so you better do the other side. Yeah. So here we have your neck, right? And we go down to the shoulder bit. And so the other thing is, you don't have to be in only one place. So you can kind of move around with your hand a little bit. There's nothing super technical about it. So squeeze and lift and slowly melt. And usually a breath out happens somewhere in there. And again, squeeze and melt, 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 melt. Squeeze. Old water out, fresh water in, melt, squeeze, melt. Like once or twice more. I'm not going to say it this time, so you do it in your own head. And then when you finish your last one, just pause. Back to the center, notice what's different. I'm always like, oh, hello, body.
Hello, like,
yeah. Oh, I have a body. I forgot about that.
Look, even.
Yeah. Look. Yeah. And so, you know, again, that one might be like a little bit, you know, it might be totally possible to do it in your desk or something, but you know, it also is, right? You know, just doing even 3 times would make a difference, you know. And also, you know, when you think about it, so we have like an instinct sometimes to just like kind of like go like that. I don't know if you do, I do, right? Yeah. Like, oh, ow, my shoulder, like that. And instead of thinking, ow, my shoulder, right, you want to think squeeze, melt, squeeze, melt, right? The mental engagement is part of the exercise, because it is easy to just go like, oh, my back, right? And that touch is so different if you do juicy back, like whatever, I'm so silly about that. It's so like, I'm not silly, but people tease me all the time, like, oh, did you talk nicely to your body today? But really, if you say ow and you touch, you're like sending an ow message into your body.
Yes.
As opposed to when you say melt, I love you, melt.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And I think there's a lot of similarities with talking to children, right? Like, when you say to your 2-year-old, like, put your shoes on, and they're like, no.
I never say that to my
like,
children.
no, put your shoes on. Oh, and you're like, okay, sweetheart. Like, which do you want to put on first? Like this kind of thing. You have to be kind of squirrely with yourself a little bit, and like a little kind of, because the
language is so important.
Yeah, and it's completely normal. Like they say 60 to 80% of our thoughts, right, are those kind of negative thoughts. And so when you notice yourself, right, and this is the other piece, you go like, oh, that dinner was a stress fest, like, and now the kids have to go upstairs, right, or whatever, and you go like, can I take like 3 breaths here and just kind of like come back to myself, right? Like, can everybody be fine for 3 breaths while I just, okay, ooh, somebody's in here, hello body, okay, ooh, okay, all right, let's brush our teeth, kids,
Yeah.
That's the
and again, the difference, and I want to highlight this because I don't think it's not obvious to everybody. It is the touch. Very often we might say take 3 deep breaths, but what we're doing is and our brain is still elsewhere. So how do you actually practically make that 3 slow deep breaths? It is hello body,
I mean,
what do I feel under my fingers, and is my chest lifting, and
like, or like, okay, soften, melt, or whatever. I have to say the touch piece is like for me, it's the key. And I know I was like, scrolling on Instagram and some like personal training, like, oh, massage doesn't help. And like the other person was like, you can't say that, right? Like if you know that something is helping you, it's helping you, right? So for you, like, I think maybe for some people, like a smell is really helpful, like an aromatherapy.
Different scents, like, right?
Yeah, exactly. So you go like, okay, I'm breathing in like pine or whatever. But for me, it's the touch, right? The touch is the thing.
Yeah. But it's a really interesting point you bring up about the smell, is that one of the things that I have loved about, my whole journey with the type of yoga and movement that I do, and is that it helps me be more sensual. And often I feel that word is linked with sex and sexual, and it is like they are intertwined in some ways, but to be sensual, to be connected with our senses is and when we're disconnected with our body, we're disconnected with our senses. And if it's touch, and this works for you, great. If it smells, lots of people I know love, and I love the essential oils. I have my little essential oil bracelets, if anyone wants to know where they're from, and you put a little drop. In fact, I have got all my oils, my rosemary oil, which I love. They all help you connect.
I mean, sensuality is a word for me as well. It's like a real big piece, and anyway, when I did like a course a while ago. It was like a free thing, maybe I'll do it again sometime, but it was 5 days, and the first sense was smell, and smell has a very direct pathway to your brain, and that's why like smells can trigger memories and things like that. And if you think about when you smell something pleasurable, right, you smell coffee, you smell your rosemary, you smell a pine forest, and you go like, and you feel your body like, oh yay, and then you think about when you smell like your bin, or like you know, something horrid,
and
the body like
in the garden, yeah.
the foxes in the garden, you know, like whatever they left there, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's car exhaust, whatever, and you go like, ugh, you know, like that level of, you know, the body going yes and the body going no is such a profound, like in some way for me, like the lesson of smell is like, what does it feel like when I go yes, right? What does it feel like when I go no, right? And the smell goes right there, right? And so then you think about, like, this is a weird story, but I had a partner and we were broken up and trying to figure out whether we were going to get back together. And every time I was in the house, which was my old house, I smelled metal. And I was like, I don't even know what metal smells like, right? But that's what I was smelling. I was smelling like this horrid metal, like it was like in my teeth. And I was like, okay, Molly, you are not meant to be here, right? This is not, you're not going back to this. You can't either, the smell of, you know. And so sometimes I think, like, you know, somebody offers me something to do and I have to go like, what does it smell like? Does it smell like coffee or does it smell like garbage, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, that's a way of like
I like that, yeah.
yourself and just like being able to listen to your body, right? Or listen to your intuition.
Trust yourself, trust your gut, you know. We
exactly
talk about this all the time. Trusting your gut, and it like, what does that mean? And
what does that mean?
How do I listen to it?
Yes,
I like that smell analogy. It's although you had the real smell thing going on. Do I like this? Is it smelling like coffee to me, or is it smelling like bins?
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
exactly.
Okay, so do you maybe want to share one more touch example?
Yeah, so here's another one, and I think this one is from a like a oh my goodness, the sun just came out.
You're right in the sun. Do you want to move to the?
I might have to revolve myself a little bit here. So move my tea. I'm gonna start seeing other secret parts of my room.
Oh dear gosh, no. That was like I was on the phone to a client the other day, or I think I was doing a corporate workshop, and I had like just shit all over my sofa, and I finished it and I was like, damn it.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
Clean that up.
Yeah. Okay, here we are, except that I have something. So this one is from I think it's called DBT, and you use your hand. And what you do is you trace your fingers and you breathe at the same time, okay? And I really like to start on this side. I don't think they specify, but I think it's better to start on the little finger side.
Okay.
And so what you're gonna do is you're just gonna breathe in. As you breathe, you bring your finger up and breathe out. And you can just feel into the pace of how you go. So obviously,
to go at the pace of your breath.
Yeah, so you go at the pace of your breath. You try to match the movement and your breathing, right? So let's just start over together. So put your finger on the outside.
Okay.
And so you're breathing in and you're sliding up. And breathe out and slide down. And as you go, like there's little ridges in your fingers, just feel those. You might feel your rings, your fingernails. And of course, if you're not perfect, that really doesn't matter. You can just pause where you are. And so when you get to your index finger, the exhale is going to be a little longer. So just up you go, and then
ahead,
oh yes, okay. Okay, so I'm going slow. So long, slow exhale on that long descent. And then on the thumb as well, you can go up and just like a really slow descent down. And then just put your hand down. And the other thing I like to do after that is just like, do I have any leftover sensations in my hand after I finish that? Is it like tingly or cold or warm or whatever? Okay, let's just do a slightly.
It's amazing.
What's that?
It feels more open.
More open. Yeah. So
really like that.
So
really nice.
It's really nice, and I think so, my breathing is fairly slow. So you can use it to kind of, as you go up, like feel the little bump on your finger and like, oh, the little tip and the little pat, like there's different textures, right? And so you kind of, another one that's maybe simpler, or not simpler, more choices, let's say, is that you just kind of touch your hand and you just like, okay, there's like my skin and my bones and my, I go like this and something's moving and there's like soft bits and hard bits. And you can put a timer on for 3 minutes and touch your hand for 3 minutes. And then you stop and it's like
the knuckles,
a whole world of sensations.
Well, I often if I ever do like a mindful, eating exercise, for example, I'll say, imagine, and you did this, I remember when we did one of our trainings, you showed us a bone and you were like, imagine you've never seen this before. And it was like, an alien, exactly. You're an alien from outer space and you've never touched, to be honest, you probably never have touched your hand in this way. So you've never touched your hand in this way. For me, the knuckles just feel so strange and you can get into all the little bits and, I'm not shopping, I'm touching my hand, I'm in my body.
Yeah, exactly. I'm in my hand, I have a hand. And then if you're depending on your own mental state as well at the time, you can also like, I'm so grateful I have my hand. Thank you, hand. You're such a great hand. You've done such a good job being a hand today. I love you, and probably not everybody's exactly like this, but the hand is a pretty neutral place. And maybe that changes as we get a little older. When hands get a little bit more tricky, but just like appreciate your hand, appreciate everything it does for you all day long, and have, like, oh my God, I've been like a body nerd since I think I was about 16, right? And at one point I was like, oh, wait, my finger bone starts here. It doesn't start where my ring sits, right?
Yeah.
It's like the silliest thing, but you're like, oh, my ring is halfway up my bone.
Here. Do they start here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts at the knuckle. You have bones down here.
Yeah.
Then you have longer bones, and then you have your knuckle, and that's the joint.
Yeah.
Right. Oh yeah. Okay. That's so exciting. Because I'm a body nerd. I'm like, oh, wow, so exciting. And then you go like,
haven't figured that out yet. In the best way.
I'm such a nerd. But it's like, when you have like a new partner or a new baby or something, and you're like, wow, like, I just want to know everything about you. You're like the coolest person, right? And on some level, we have to cultivate that with ourselves. And, I think cultivating that feeling with your body is part of what allows you to be in your body, right? That's part of what listening to your body means. It means like, oh, body's having a reaction. I am gonna be attentive to it, right? I'm gonna like wonder about what it's thinking and what it's feeling and how this dinner makes me feel. Yeah. And, this is maybe a little segue, but I was thinking about mindfulness and food, because that's been definitely a specific journey for me. Oh, come on, just like 1 more millimeter. Here we go. Launch myself to the side. Go in the corner. Yeah, okay.
We can't see it. It looks beautiful. Beautiful background. Yeah, nothing to worry about.
Yeah, my back garden is amazing. But anyway, my mind has ideas about how much dinner should be, right? And then my body has ideas about how much it's hungry for. And if I'm asleep at the wheel, or asleep at, if I'm not in the bath, I'm in the bath or not in the bath.
Yeah.
I can't like figure out whether my mind is saying that's enough for me or my body is, right? So so you go, okay, I'm going to use this as example. So one day you posted something with like a chicken thigh and some vegetables and something else. And I was like, that is not enough dinner for me, right? And I go like, my brain might put that portion on the plate.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess if I had had a cheese sandwich an hour before, that might be enough dinner for me, you know, but like, if I ate all my kids' leftover snacks or something. But on an ordinary night, you know, I'd go like, oh, do I need another piece of chicken, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is my dinner really 2 pieces of chicken and vegetables? And if I don't listen to myself, either I mindlessly eat the second piece of chicken and I haven't like decided that I was hungry for it.
Yeah.
Right. Or I let my mind say, no, 1 piece of chicken is enough. And then a half an hour later, I'm attacking a packet of biscuits.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which is usually the way around it's usually, well, yes. That's not true. That's actually not true. I tend to see both versions, and it depends on what your goals are, right? But very often, sometimes people emotional eat, right? Maybe not with chicken, but maybe other types of food. And so they sort of pile things in and they're not checking in with themselves. Right. Mostly maybe with snacking or sugar cravings, things like that. And they're not checking in before they eat that stuff. It's like, I'm standing at the cupboard door and I'm just going to throw it in as quickly as I can. Yeah. You know, or, a lot of people, they're beating themselves up all the time. And I need to feel better and I need to be healthy. So I'm going to have less food on my plate, or I'm going to have a salad that's got no nutrients in it. That's not going to keep me full, or, I need to lose weight, or whatever your thing is. Yeah. And so you don't put enough food on your plate. And then very often what will happen, it doesn't fill you up because you're just mentally telling yourself what you need to do. You're not listening to your body. Exactly. And that was the hugest thing for me. It was like, oh, if I decide how much I need to eat from my brain, my body is going to react and I'm going to end up, it's going to be either emotional eating because I'm actually hungry, or emotional eating because I'm emotional. Right. Mm-hmm. But either way, it's going to look like stuffing my face from the cupboard rather than sitting down and eating a dinner. And, my mother used to say, the food that you nibble at while you're cleaning up has no calories. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, no, the dinner you put on your plate is the food, right? That's the bit that has, that's so anyway, it's so hang on, what was it your mom said says it has no calories? She would say it about like the little sliver of cake that you take after you put away the you're going to have their birthday. Yeah, but it's because I process that differently. I know lots of people used to say that. Like my grandma used to say, the broken biscuits don't count. Yes, exactly. Like the broken biscuit from the box, it doesn't count. But what I was thinking was, when I talk to clients about this all the time, is when you pick up the leftover pasta off your kid's plate, or, the floor, they've thrown something on the floor, you're cleaning up, it just accidentally goes in because it's perfectly good bit of food. That was many years ago, maybe when I was in my baby days. You're literally, I know I'm not the only one that did that. No, definitely not. You're not triggering your digestive system, your digestive process to start. Like the process of digesting food starts when you smell your food, when you see your food. The saliva gets released into the mouth. There's a reason people say, you're salivating. That is the start of the digestive process. So when you eat that bit of pasta off the plate, or they've got a piece of leftover pizza, or my husband always makes me cook 2 extra fish fingers just in case, but they always go into his mouth or mine. It's like it doesn't count, but it does add to you're not digesting it properly because you haven't started it so often, it's not filling you up. It doesn't make you feel full, so therefore you then, like, it's on top of what you're already eating. And so that, so this is like where the mindfulness, right? Like if you took 5 extra seconds and smelled it, right? If you went, am I actually still hungry here? Is this just because I'm like weird and hate throwing food away? Right. Who's eating? Right? Who's eating? Is my body asking me to eat something,
or is my habits and psychoses eating, right? And you go like, oh, when I bring myself to the bath and I go, I am eating, right? And you eat mindfully, then you get better digestion and you get a better result. And I was, as you were saying that, I was like, it's the same with exercising, right? If you just turn up and like, do the thing while you're still writing your shopping list in your head, and then you finish and you may be sweaty and you may have like burned some calories, but you haven't engaged your body, right? You haven't gotten
where injuries occur, just saying.
Exactly. Right. And you haven't gotten there's a woman who uses the word nutritious movement, right? Like you haven't gotten the juice out of the movement. And so, so just to kind of like put a little bow on this whole conversation, right? Bringing yourself it like taking whatever steps you can, right? So that might be this like, am I hungry? Right? Am I hungry for this thing? Right? Like, could I just throw it in the bin? Like, would everybody be okay if I just threw that in the bin? You all okay with that? Okay, or would you all be okay with that I'm actually hungry and rather than just eating the crust?
And rather than taking it, taking it out the bowl. So I often say this to people, there's nothing wrong with having the leftover pasta or fish fingers, but have it mindfully, be conscious that you're doing it.
Yeah.
If it's because you're hungry, maybe put another fish finger on and some peas on the side or some cucumber or whatever, and actually sit down and eat it. Very often this happens with the kids' leftover food. So I will often say to the mums I work with, which is a lot, when your kids are eating dinner, if you're not eating at the same time, you get hungry. And that's when you pick. Sit down at the table with them and make yourself a snack. Make it for yourself. Be mindful that you are going to feed this to yourself.
And if you know that you don't want it to be a super filling snack, make a miso soup or a cup of,
or some edamame, some edamame.
edamame,
one of my favorite snacks, or just some carrots and hummus, whatever. Just something. Something. So the other, wrapping another bow on this bit of the conversation. Another thing that I hear a lot, and that I've been speaking to a lot of women about Thrive this week, and I feel like one of the things that's stopping women from taking control of their health, from being more mindful, from being in their bodies, getting in the driver's seat, I guess, that's my favorite phrase at the moment, because it's what we're all trying to do, is the lack of knowledge. We often beat ourselves up because we're not able to be more mindful. We're not able to feed ourselves healthy, balanced meals. We're trying to be healthy, but the gap is you haven't been taught how to do this stuff.
Yes.
It's not your fault.
Yeah.
Holy shit, it is not your fault.
I totally agree. I mean, again, I guess this won't make sense to everyone who hears it, but I studied dance from the age of 3. I danced professionally at the age of 18. I started doing yoga when I stopped dancing professionally because I was injured. And I went to uni and I studied dance at uni and all this kind of stuff. And I was 30 something before I learned where my legs connected to my body, right? Where my hip joints were. Like I was like 25 years in before I knew like anatomy 101 of your body, right? And I was like, and I don't mean know it, like I might have known it, but I didn't know it in my body, right? And then I went like, holy shit, why did nobody teach me this? Right? Why did nobody talk to us about like healthy eating? Why did nobody ever tell me like food is about nutrition?
How didn't I know that what I eat changes how I feel?
Right. Exactly.
In fact, a client came to me recently, and her main goal, I mean, there was loads of stuff that she was working on with, she was completely exhausted, like literally yawned through our sessions every week. She would yawn. After we did the work, she wasn't yawning, but she's like, I just want to know, I hear health people talk about the connection between what I eat and how I feel in my body. I've never experienced that.
Right.
And now she's like, I know what that feels like, and it is amazing.
Right. Yeah.
That what I'm doing, the choices
Yeah.
I'm making, whether it be to do with how you're moving, how you're breathing, what you're eating, all the lifestyle choices, really, you know, sleep routines, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I want to feel how that's going to affect me as a person.
Right. And the irony is, right, that when you're a parent, you are so obsessed with knowing that about the kid.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
You're so obsessed. You're like, no, he can't eat that snack because he won't eat enough dinner, and then he'll be hungry, and then we'll be up all night.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, we have to eat this meal and sleep at this time, and and then we're the same. We're so the same.
Yeah.
And you know, and I had a thing. So I go swimming on a Thursday night, and I came back and I was like, I wasn't really hungry, but there was like some leftover dinner, and I hadn't really eaten much dinner that night. So I did heat up my kids' leftovers, but I ate them, but it was like, 9:45 or something like that. And it completely threw me for 3 days to have eaten, half a meal at 9:30. And I could go like, okay, newsflash, don't do that again.
Don't do that again. Yes. And even though you didn't, the feelings weren't good, because often again, women will, clients in my sessions will go, oh God, I completely fell off the wagon and I ate 3 chocolate bars and I was so cross. Or, I've been eating so well and then I ate that big bread roll and I literally had stomach cramps for 3 days. And I'm like, look, this isn't good because I don't want you to be feeling this way, but this is good because you've learned something.
Yeah.
You've learned something. And I'm still learning things. I still learn things. I was saying to Molly before we started this that, I've been a grouchy bitch yesterday and I was like, oh, because my period's due,
Right. And that's the other thing. And then you go like, oh, I just fell off the bandwagon because I ate 3 chocolate bars. And you go, oh, because my period's due.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Or, oh, and so here's another bow. Let's try another bow. But
let's wrap up the bows after this one.
I know. The mindfulness, right? And so the mindfulness doesn't have to be all in your heads. You can write it down. You can go, oh, like on day 26 of my cycle, I eat 3 chocolate bars.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good information. Now I don't have to beat myself up when I eat 3 chocolate bars on day 26,
Mm-hmm.
and
or plan, or it's coming, so you can plan to make the chocolate protein balls or whatever. Either make the chocolate and be okay with it, or make the protein balls and then feel even better. Whatever.
Yes, exactly. Whatever.
Knowledge.
Exactly. But I think, there's lots in mindfulness and Buddhism about acceptance, right? And it's like, if you judge yourself for having the chocolate bars, you send yourself into a spiral. Mm-hmm. If you observe that the chocolate bar doesn't make you feel good, and in fact, it was because you were actually pissed off with your husband and you needed a nap, and actually it was because you were pissed off with your husband and you were pissed off with your husband because you actually needed a nap.
Yeah. Because your kids woke you up at 5 a.m. or whatever.
Exactly. And when then you go like, okay, that's when you can go, all right, that was the choice. This is the consequence, right? I'm going to be okay with the consequence because, life goes on after 3 chocolate bars. And next time, when the kid wakes me up at this point in my cycle, or like when I have the thing due, I'm just going to step away and have 15 minutes of sleep, or like whatever. And we get there 10% of the time, but 10% is better than nothing. 100%. And you just keep bringing yourself back, right?
Not 100%, 10%, yeah.
It's
progression. You've got to, it's progression. And sometimes it's going to go like that.
Yeah,
that's
totally.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the thing is about these things is, right, the reason you practice them is because the reason you do them frequently is because you want to have a way to get yourself back when you get off course. Yes. And, the things that we're familiar with, familiarity can be a little bit of a double-edged sword, but like, if your body knows that when you touch your hand like this, you calm down, when it starts doing it, it will start calming down, right? It's it's both the action and the association, you know, so like now, you know, I'm fascinated by it because I'm like, I do something like this, like every day, twice a day, you know, sometimes I teach it, I do it 3 times, whatever. And every time it's better, right? After I do it, you go like, how is that possible? But it's just because you do have to keep coming back to yourself, right? You have to keep coming back to your sensorial, sensual, intuitive, present self. And so for me, like, that's what the mindfulness is like being in life and then being like, okay, I'm here, I'm in it. I you know, I have to keep a little bit like, you know, you have to keep reining the horse to keep it on the path. And you know,
it's a journey. And I often say this, it's a journey. And you know, I'm on the journey. We're all on the journey. It's not people often say to me, oh God, I bet your diet's amazing. And I'm like, well, yeah, it's really good most of the time. But I have the crazy days, and I have the, you know, losing my temper, and I have the stress, and I have the, but it's and I have the days of the 3 chocolate bars, or the, you know, green and black dark chocolates, my little it happens, but it's having the tools to bring yourself back. And actually that is a nice segue into the program that we're running together, Thrive, because Molly and I decided to run this program together because we know how valuable bringing the nutrition, the lifestyle, the movement, the mindfulness, it all weaves together so nicely to help us feel like we're more in control, to feel like we're more present, to get rid of the stress, the exhaustion, the anxiety, that feeling of just being switched on. You know, I hear this a lot. I feel switched on all the time, and I just can't calm down. I can't relax, people often say to me.
Right. Wow. Yeah.
So we wanted to create this program, right? So that people could learn to connect more with their bodies.
Yeah.
To learn how to feed themselves. You know, I'll be doing a lot of guidance around what should a plate of food look like? You know, is it for you? I have a lot of guidance that I offer, like a sort of, it's called the balanced plate. Some of you may have seen it, but practically, how do I make that work for me when I've got 5 meetings today, 6 meetings today, when you know, my kids are coming home and I've got to go, I want to go to my dance class, and I you know, I've got to cook this for my husband and this for the kids, and how do I practically make all this stuff work? How do I make healthy eating the easy option in a busy setup? I mean, that's one of the pieces. If people want to know more about Thrive, by the way, it is an 8-week program. I'm going to give you a bit of the bump, a bit of the logisticy stuff. It's an 8-week program. We're going to be doing 4 weeks before Christmas. So we start on the 22nd of November, and then 4 weeks after Christmas. And I think that timing works so nicely, because how many of us are like, fuck, Christmas is coming up. How am I going to keep myself on track?
Oh God.
So we're kind of doing this for us as well, right?
Totally. Oh my goodness. Oh, Christmas.
Okay. And actually, we've got some amazing women already in the Thrive tribe. This is what I'm calling everyone. It's the Thrive tribe. And you know, they're just so excited about the timings of that. And the way it works is Molly and I are going to be sending a really short video to you each week. Obviously, my stuff's going to be about nutrition and lifestyle. Molly's stuff's going to be about movement, mindfulness, her thing. And then we're going to have a live group coaching call every single week of the course, which means we all come together on Zoom. It's private, by the way. And we get to talk about what you're struggling with. Well, first of all, we'll talk about your goals. So each of you are going to have your individual goals that you're working towards. That's absolutely fine. It's important that you're focusing on what's relevant for you, because what works for me doesn't work for Molly, and what works for Molly doesn't work for my sister, and what works for, you know, we're all so different. So we're all working towards the kind of bigger goal of being more in control and healthy eating and getting rid of the stress, but you're going to have your individual goals. And I will be guiding you through the program with Molly. And in those coaching sessions, we will practically talk, you know, oh God, I've got this thing coming up and how do I manage it? And I don't know, how to do my meal plan this week and how is it going to work? Or, I really wanted to make sure I drank more water this week because I know it's going to help me, but how do I practically do that? So we talk about challenges, we talk about solutions, and most importantly, I'm a very practical person. Yeah, I like the education thing. I think it's important for you to understand what stress means and what's going on in your body so that you have the information. Really important. Same with you, right? That you teach people about the physiology, what the body is.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's also about, okay, what am I going to do this week to take a step forwards? Because we want to aim, we're not aiming to be perfect. We want to progress forward one step at a time. Yeah. And then the thing I'm so excited about Thrive is it's a group. And we have that supportive, nurturing environment of a group of women supporting each other, there for you when you stumble. We're there for you to celebrate your successes and your wins. It's the power of a group is just amazing. I absolutely love it. So
sign me up.
Sign me up, yeah. We only have a few more spaces left on Thrive. We've had a really amazing response. If you are interested, there is a bit more information at abbymanders.com/thrive. You can read more about it there. And at the end of that page, you will be able to book a call in my calendar. Okay, it's really important that everyone who does this program has a 45 to 60 minute phone call with me to make sure that you are the right fit for this program. But if any of the stuff we've talked about today has resonated with you, if you feel like you need a bit more of this stuff in your life, then chances are you are a good fit, but we'll jump on the phone, we'll make sure that you are. And if you are, if there's more spaces, then we'd love to have you join us.
Absolutely.
And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, and it's 1 o'clock. We did it.
All right.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for joining me, Molly.
Oh, I loved it. It was such fun. Yeah.
See you all soon.
Yeah.
Bye.